So, okay, here we are, or here I am, and this is something that I have not looked forward to. I'm doing this because I feel like I have to, because I'd rather be with you. Oh, and by the way, I'm the one that's uncomfortable here. You, in all likelihood, are sitting in your recliner. If you're watching this at all and you're pretty comfortable, don't get used to it, because we need you back here, and we need you in these pews as soon as God possibly will open the door for us. On the other hand, once I got in here, I didn't feel like I was quite so alone. I started seeing images of folks. Some folks aren't even here anymore with us, you know. Roy sitting over there, and the choir, they're whispering, nudging each other. Who's that couple visiting back there? They're sitting in the back pew, and I wonder where so-and-so is. They haven't been here in 2 weeks, or reckon Jill will get here in time for the special. I'm sorry, Jill. Anyway, and over there's Larry Weathers. He's settled in for his nap already. And Karen Cantrell over here, trying as hard as she can to be inconspicuous, although that's just impossible with her gifts. I even saw Hubert Lella Bedingfield back there, and Bug and Lorraine Johnson over there, and just this place got full in a hurry once I let it. And the things of the Spirit are bigger than we give them credit for sometimes. But that's not my sermon today. As a matter of fact, I don't have a sermon today. I have something that struck me last week that I just have to share. I sent out the email. I asked you all to read up on Jeremiah chapter 32. It's a story that's familiar to most of us, if not all of us. Old Jeremiah, bless his heart, he was in jail again. As a matter of fact, he was in his second jail, just in this one story. It was kind of a better jail than the first jail, but still he was in jail. And to complicate the story, the Babylonians were laying siege to Jerusalem. They pretty much had it surrounded. This started in January of that year and lasted through August. There was a brief period when the siege was lifted because the Egyptian army was getting close, and the Babylonians kind of did a retreat. And when the Egyptians went away, the Babylonians, anyway, that's all part of the story. You don't need to know. Jeremiah was in prison, and all of a sudden, a real estate opportunity came to him. We don't know much about it, but there's some really interesting details about how Jewish culture worked and all that, but I don't want to get into that today either. We don't know much about the real estate. Pretty sure it was not lakefront property, but nevertheless, it came to Jeremiah with the opportunity to buy it. And he did. And it turned into a remarkable story. He got word to the authorities that that he wasn't going to be defeated in this way. That I mean, come on, who would be in jail with no hope of getting out, with the whole Babylonian army laying siege to your city and then about to fall? And by the way, eventually it did. And Jeremiah was carried off into slavery, and he never came back that we know of to Jerusalem. All that was, and who in their right mind would invest in a piece of property under those circumstances? Or maybe we're missing something here, and it's not about being in your right mind, it's about having the right heart. Anyway, Jeremiah bought that field, and the message, of course, is that there's a faith that overcomes the reality that we see around us, a conviction that helps us to stand firm in who we are and what we believe, despite the realities that seem to dominate everything around us. And I don't know, last week when all this stuff happened, that we were going to be social distancing and houses of worship had to be shut down, and bars. I think that kind of interesting that bars and houses of worship, among other things, had to be shut down. But anyway, when I was just kind of lost. I have a reason to believe that you were too. And in the midst of that, Bob Ingram called me. You see, I'd totally forgotten it, but we bought a new sound system for this building. It's been installed this week. And Bob told me that they were going to come on Tuesday, that was 2 or 3 days ago, to start installing the sound system. And I said, okay. And then as the day got closer, I thought, maybe we should cancel that. Maybe we should forget about that. Is this really a good time to buy a sound system for the church? And the more I thought about it, I don't know what happened. I got to thinking about Jeremiah and him purchasing that piece of property. And I thought, we can't stop now. There's a lot of property out there that we've got to purchase. A lot of investments in faith that we've got to carry out. Some of them in places distant and unknown to us, and some places as close as our hearts. You know, there's something to be said for that kind of action in the short term. This is supposed to be a true story. I wasn't there, so I can't vouch for it. But a long time ago, this guy named Hannibal was laying siege to Rome, and he had a pretty powerful army. And there was the battle was in kind of a coin toss, and all of a sudden he was made aware of the fact that the very land where he was camped, where his army was camped, had been sold while he was camping there. Somebody had confidence enough to sell the land right out from under him because they believed that a better day was coming. And that's a pretty serious thing for us to be doing right now. Our neighbors need to see us doing that. Our family needs to see us doing that. We need to see ourselves doing that because, heck, if we only came in here because things were good for us, we might have been missing the point. Maybe God was preparing us for this very day when we feel imprisoned, when we feel hurting, when we feel bewildered. And He was preparing us for a little real estate deal. Because you see, it's not just about us. I said that Jeremiah purchased that property. He never got to use it. I can tell you with almost 100% certainty that he never got to use that property. Never even got to see it again. He was purchasing it for me. I saw his act of faith. I see his act of faith. I see his understanding that God is going to ultimately come across, and that the land He intends for His people will be put to good use. Now, when I say land, we always think real estate, but the promised land is something a lot bigger than that. And God is always coming across with His promise that on the other side of the darkness, on the other side of the siege, on the other side of the battle, there is going to be something good that's going to be done in the land. He keeps purchasing things with that understanding. He went all the way to Golgotha to make a purchase with that understanding that on the other side of the darkest day, on the other side of the greatest challenge, on the other side of the most hopeless situation, when it doesn't seem like anything can be right again, He and His people will purchase some property because we know He will put it to good. That's His promise to us. That's the reason those speakers are hanging there. That's the reason you're watching this video. And that's the reason that you're going to go out this week and serve the Lord with faithfulness, purchasing property everywhere you go, in people's hearts, in people's lives, and in the great harvest field of faith. We know that God will make it work together for good. Peace be with you, my children. I love you. This is going to be fine. And someday soon we'll be in here together again. And won't it be a great day?